What happens when one of the most talked about women in the world walks onto a daytime talk show and completely loses control? In just 36 seconds, a single comment would turn a routine interview into absolute chaos, exposing a side of a royal that America had never seen before. This is the story of how Meghan Markle got kicked off The View. The studio lights were bright that morning. The audience was packed. Everyone was excited. Meghan Markle was the guest, and people had been waiting weeks for this appearance. She walked out wearing an expensive cream-colored suit. Her smile was perfect. The audience clapped and cheered. She waved. She sat down on the couch. Everything seemed normal. Sunny Hostin was the host leading the interview that day. Sunny is known for being smart, direct, and fair. She asks tough questions, but she always treats her guests with respect. She had prepared good questions for Meghan, questions about charity work, questions about her life, questions about her plans, normal interview stuff. The conversation started fine. They talked about Meghan's latest project. Meghan smiled and gave careful answers. She talked about helping people. She talked about making a difference. The audience nodded along. Everything was going smoothly. But then Sunny asked a simple question. A question that any journalist would ask. "You've spoken a lot about your struggles with the media," Sunny said, "but some people feel that you and your husband have also used the media to tell your side of the story. How do you respond to that criticism?" It was a fair question, not mean, not aggressive, just fair. But something changed in Meghan's face. Her smile disappeared. Her eyes went cold. She shifted in her seat. The other hosts noticed. The audience noticed. You could feel the tension building. "Well, Sunny," Meghan said slowly, "I think that question shows a real lack of understanding about what we've been through." Sunny stayed calm. She nodded. "I'd love for you to help me understand," she said. "That's why I'm asking." "No," Meghan said, her voice getting sharper. "I don't think you would understand. You sit here in your comfortable studio with your comfortable job, and you judge people like me who've actually sacrificed everything." The studio went quiet. The other hosts looked at each other. This was not normal. Guests don't talk to hosts like this, especially not on live television. Sunny kept her professional smile, but you could see she was surprised. "Meghan, I'm not judging you," Sunny said calmly. "I'm asking you a question that many people want answered. That's my job." "Your job," Meghan repeated, laughing, but not in a funny way. "Your job is to sit here and tear down women who are actually trying to make a difference in the world. Is that what you think your job is?" The audience gasped. You could hear people whispering. One of the other hosts tried to jump in to change the subject, but Meghan kept going. "I came here thinking this would be a respectful conversation," Meghan continued. "But I see now that you're just like all the rest. You invite people on your show just to attack them." Sunny's face stayed calm, but her voice got firmer. "Meghan, nobody is attacking you. I asked you one question, one fair question. If you can't handle a basic question about your public statements, then maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews." That's when things really exploded. Meghan stood up from the couch. Her microphone was still on. Everyone could hear everything. "How dare you?" she said, her voice rising. "How dare you speak to me that way? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I've been through?" Sunny stood up too. She was not backing down. "Yes, I know who you are," Sunny said. "You're a guest on this show, and you're being incredibly rude to someone who invited you here and treated you with nothing but respect." "Respect?" Meghan shouted. The audience was completely silent now. Everyone was watching this unfold. "You call this respect? Ambushing me with gotcha questions? Trying to make me look bad on national television?" "It was one question," Sunny said again. Her voice was steady, strong. "One simple question, and instead of answering it like an adult, you're having a meltdown on live TV." Meghan's face turned red. She pointed her finger at Sunny. "You have no idea what it's like to be scrutinized the way I've been scrutinized. You have no idea what it's like to have the whole world watching your every move." Sunny crossed her arms. "Actually, Meghan, millions of people are watching right now. And what they're seeing is someone who claims to want privacy but can't stop doing interviews. Someone who claims to want respect but won't show respect to others." The other hosts were frozen. The producers were probably panicking. This was live television. This was really happening. There was no way to stop it now. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the couch. "I don't have to sit here and take this," she said. "I thought you were different, Sunny. I thought you would understand. But you're just another person trying to tear me down." "Nobody's tearing you down," Sunny replied. "You're doing that all by yourself." That line hit hard. You could see it on Meghan's face. She was furious. "This is exactly why I left," Meghan said. "This is exactly why we had to get away, because people like you make it impossible to just live your life and be happy." Sunny took a breath. She was still calm, still professional. "Meghan, you're a guest on this show. You agreed to come here. You agreed to do this interview. Nobody forced you. And nobody has been anything but kind to you until you started attacking me for asking a question." "Kind?" Meghan laughed again, that same harsh laugh. "You think this is kind? Questioning my choices? Questioning my integrity?" "I question your media strategy," Sunny corrected her. "That's not the same thing as questioning your integrity. But your reaction right now is really telling." Meghan's hands were shaking. She was so angry. "You know what's telling?" she said. "What's telling is that women like you always go after women like me. Always. It's jealousy. Pure jealousy." The audience gasped again. That was a low blow. Sunny's expression changed. She was done being patient. "Jealousy?" Sunny said, her voice cold now. "You think I'm jealous of you? Meghan, I have a successful career that I built myself. I don't need to marry into anything. I don't need a title. I have my own name." Meghan stepped closer to Sunny. The security team was starting to move. "At least I had the courage to leave a toxic situation," Meghan said. "Unlike people who stay in their little boxes and judge everyone else. The only toxic situation here is the one you're creating right now," Sunny shot back. "You came on this show with an agenda. You wanted to play the victim. But when I asked you a real question, you couldn't handle it. That's not my fault. That's yours." "I'm done," Meghan announced loudly. "I'm leaving. This is ridiculous." "Good," Sunny said simply. "Because honestly, this interview was over the moment you decided to throw a tantrum instead of having an adult conversation." Meghan started walking toward the exit, but she wasn't done talking. She turned back around. "You'll regret this," she said. "Everyone will see how you treated me, how you ambushed me, how you tried to humiliate me." Sunny didn't move. She just stood there, calm and strong. The only thing people will see is exactly what happened. A host asked a fair question, and a guest completely lost control. The cameras caught everything, Meghan, everything. "You think you're so smart," Meghan said, her voice shaking now. "You think you're so much better than me." "I never said that," Sunny replied. "But I do think I handled this situation a lot better than you did." Meghan looked around the studio. The audience was staring. The other hosts were watching. The cameras were rolling. Reality seemed to hit her. But instead of calming down, she got even more defensive. "This is a setup," Meghan said. "This whole thing was a setup. You planned this. You wanted to make me look bad." Sunny shook her head. "Meghan, the only person who made you look bad today was you. I asked one question. One. And you turned it into this circus." "Because your question was offensive," Meghan insisted. "My question was normal," Sunny said firmly. "If you can't answer normal questions without falling apart, then maybe you need to think about why that is." Meghan's eyes filled with tears, but they seemed like angry tears, not sad tears. "You're cruel," she said. "You're a cruel person, Sunny." "No," Sunny said quietly but clearly. "I'm a journalist. I'm doing my job, and my job is to ask questions. If you can't handle that, that's not cruelty. That's just reality." One of the producers was now on stage, trying to guide Meghan away, but Meghan pulled her arm free. "Don't touch me," she said. "I can walk myself out." She looked at Sunny one more time. "I feel sorry for you," Meghan said. "I really do. You could have been someone who lifted other women up, but instead you chose to tear them down." Sunny's response was calm and devastating. "Meghan, I lift up women who deserve it. Women who work hard. Women who stay humble. Women who don't throw fits when asked simple questions. You want to be lifted up? Try acting like someone worth lifting." That was it. That was the moment. Meghan's face went pale. She had nothing left to say. She turned and walked off the stage. The clip of her heels on the floor echoed through the silent studio. Everyone watched her go. Nobody clapped. Nobody said goodbye. She just left. The other hosts slowly gathered around Sunny. They were checking if she was okay. Sunny nodded. She took a deep breath. Then she turned to the camera. "Well," Sunny said, and you could hear the exhaustion in her voice. That was unexpected. "We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our planned show." But everyone knew the show was basically over. That moment, that confrontation, that explosion, it had taken over everything. The audience sat in shock. The producers were scrambling, and Meghan was somewhere backstage, probably still furious. During the commercial break, you could hear people talking. The audience members were buzzing with conversation. What just happened? Did that really just happen? Was it real? It was all real. Every word, every moment, every second of it. When the show came back from commercial, Sunny addressed what happened. She was professional. She was measured. "I want to say something about what you all just witnessed," Sunny began. "This show has always been about honest conversation, about asking tough questions, about having real discussions. And sometimes, those discussions get uncomfortable. But we never apologize for doing our jobs as journalists." The audience clapped. They were on Sunny's side. Anyone watching could see that Sunny had done nothing wrong. She had asked a fair question. She had stayed calm. She had been respectful. And when disrespected, she had stood her ground without losing her cool. "I invited Meghan here today hoping to have a meaningful conversation," Sunny continued. "I had questions that I thought were important, questions that many people want answered. And I'm disappointed that we couldn't have that conversation, but I'm not going to apologize for asking questions. That's what we do here." More applause, louder this time. The other hosts nodded in agreement. They backed Sunny completely because they had seen what everyone saw. They had watched a host try to do her job and a guest completely fall apart. Backstage, according to people who were there, Meghan was demanding to speak to producers. She was angry that they hadn't stopped the interview. She was angry that they had let Sunny ask that question. She was angry about everything. But the producers stood firm. They explained that it was a live show. They explained that Sunny had every right to ask that question. They explained that Meghan's reaction was her own choice. Meghan reportedly demanded that the footage be cut, that the interview not air, but it was live. It had already aired. Millions of people had already seen it. There was no taking it back, no editing it, no fixing it. What happened, happened. Back on stage, Sunny was wrapping up the show. She looked tired but strong. "Thank you all for being here today," she said to the audience. "Thank you for watching at home. We'll see you tomorrow." The show ended. The cameras stopped rolling, and Sunny finally sat down. The other hosts gathered around her again. They hugged her. They told her she handled it perfectly, because she had. In the face of an unreasonable attack, Sunny had stayed calm. She had stayed professional. She had done her job. The thing about this whole situation is how clearly it showed the difference between the two women. Sunny came to work to do her job, to ask questions, to have conversations. She treated her guest with respect. She was prepared. She was professional. And when things went wrong, she handled it with grace. Meghan, on the other hand, came with expectations. She expected softball questions. She expected praise. She expected everyone to agree with her and support her without question. And when she got a normal, fair question instead, she couldn't handle it. She lashed out. She attacked. She made it personal. What made it worse for Meghan was that everyone could see it happening. There was no spin, no editing, no controlling the narrative. It was live television, raw and real. And what people saw was someone who claims to want privacy, creating a massive public scene. Someone who claims to be strong, falling apart over one question. Someone who claims to be kind, being incredibly rude to someone who had done nothing wrong. The interview became a perfect example of how people react under pressure. Sunny, under attack and disrespected, stayed calm and stood her ground. She didn't yell. She didn't lose control. She just spoke truth. Simple, clear truth. And that truth was powerful. Meghan, faced with a simple question, completely unraveled. She couldn't answer the question, so she attacked the person asking it. She made accusations. She played victim. She threw a fit. And all of it was caught on camera for the world to see. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. One woman was a professional doing her job. The other was someone used to getting her way, unable to cope when things didn't go according to her plan. As the studio cleared out that day, the crew members talked among themselves. They had seen a lot in their years working on the show. They had seen heated discussions. They had seen disagreements. But they had never seen a guest completely melt down like that. Never seen someone attack a host so viciously over such a simple question. And they all agreed on one thing. Sunny had handled it perfectly. She had given Meghan every chance to calm down and have a normal conversation. She had stayed respectful, even when being disrespected. She had been the adult in the room, and when pushed, she had defended herself without stooping to name-calling or cruelty. She had simply told the truth. The security team that eventually escorted Meghan from the building said she was still angry when she left, still complaining, still blaming everyone but herself. She got into her car and left, and that was it. The interview was over. The explosion was done. The moment had passed. But the impact of that moment would last much longer, because what happened on The View that day wasn't just about one interview gone wrong. It was about accountability. It was about how people react when asked to explain themselves. It was about the difference between someone who can handle criticism and someone who falls apart at the first tough question. Sunny Hostin proved that day why she's respected in her field. She showed courage. She showed integrity. She showed that doing your job sometimes means standing up to powerful people who don't want to answer hard questions. And she showed that you can do all of that while staying professional and keeping your dignity. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, proved something very different. She proved that all her talk about being strong was just talk. She proved that she expects special treatment. She proved that she can't handle the very thing she claims to want, which is honest conversation. And she proved that when challenged, her first instinct is to attack rather than answer. The audience that day witnessed something rare. They witnessed someone's true character being revealed in real time. Because when people are under pressure, when things don't go their way, that's when you see who they really are. The mask comes off, the performance stops, and the real person shows up. Sunny's real person is someone strong, fair, and unshakable. Someone who knows her worth and doesn't need to prove it by putting others down. Someone who does her job well and doesn't apologize for it. Meghan's real person, as shown that day, is someone fragile, defensive, and unable to handle basic accountability. Someone who expects the world to treat her like royalty, but doesn't want to answer questions like everyone else. Someone who claims to be a victim, but acts like a bully when things don't go her way. The whole situation lasted maybe 10 minutes from start to finish. 10 minutes that felt like an hour. 10 minutes that revealed everything. 10 minutes that showed exactly who both women are when the cameras are rolling and there's nowhere to hide. By the time Meghan walked off that stage, she had undone months of carefully crafted image management. All the interviews, all the statements, all the controlled narratives, none of it mattered anymore. Because people had seen the real her, and what they saw wasn't impressive. Sunny, meanwhile, had cemented her reputation as a host who won't back down, who won't be bullied, who will ask the questions that need asking, no matter who's sitting across from her. That's the kind of journalist people respect. That's the kind of person people trust. In the end, the whole explosive confrontation came down to one simple truth. Sunny asked a question. Meghan couldn't answer it, and instead of being honest about that, Meghan tried to make it Sunny's fault. She tried to make herself the victim of a mean question when really, she was just someone who got caught without a good answer. The beauty of live television is that you can't fake it. You can't rehearse spontaneity. You can't script genuine reactions. What happens, happens. And what happened on The View that day was a masterclass in how to handle yourself with dignity versus how to fall apart spectacularly. As viewers turned off their televisions that afternoon, they knew they had witnessed something significant. Not just a celebrity meltdown, though it was certainly that, but also a reminder that titles don't equal character, that fame doesn't equal grace, and that sometimes the people who claim to be the most victimized are actually the ones who can't handle being treated like everyone else. Sunny Hostin walked off that stage with her head high. She had done her job, she had done it well, and she had shown millions of people what real strength looks like. Not throwing tantrums, not making demands, not attacking people who ask questions, but standing firm in your purpose, staying calm under fire, and refusing to be intimidated by someone's status or title. That's the story of what happened when Meghan Markle came to The View. That's the story of how 36 seconds changed everything. That's the story of a question, a meltdown, and a host who refused to back down. And that's why, in the end, everyone watching knew exactly who the real professional was in that room.